Well, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us in our part 2 of reviewing our Advanced Bank Reconciliation tool today. Thanks for joining us. So we're going to, in part 2 here, extend our conversation to include reconciliation for credit cards. We're going to be talking about both reconciliation of credit card merchant gateways, as well as using advanced bank reconciliation for the reconciliation of corporate credit cards. So we'll kind of address both of these scenarios today. I'm going to start by introducing myself and also indicating that at any point in time during the presentation, should you have a question, a comment that you would like to share with us in our GoToMeeting console in the either question or chat box, feel free to do so at the end of the presentation. I've left a little bit of time so that we can go into a live Q&A. And if there are any questions at that point in time, one of my colleagues on the call here today will help us address those questions for you. So again, I'm Carol Darcy, a Senior Manager and Solution Specialist here at Nolan Business Solutions. For those of you that have been participating in a number of our sessions already, I'll just do a quick recap for anyone that's new. Who is Nolan Business Solutions as an organization? So we've been developing and supporting the Microsoft Dynamics GP platform for well over 20 years, pretty much since the beginning. We're a certified Microsoft partner, both in enterprise resource planning as well as data analytics. We have location worldwide, physical office here in North America in Boulder, Colorado. We also have offices in the United Kingdom. As I mentioned, been developing and supporting the GP platform and developing add-on solutions for it for well over 20 years. Some of the add-on solutions that we have and we've been covering through our webinar series. We started last week with discussing our intercompany series and our ability to help organizations address complex intercompany accounting type requirements. We also have an expertise in the area of cash management with the development of an advanced bank reconciliation module as well as electronic payments. Earlier this week, we covered advanced bank reconciliation in the context of reconciling bank accounts, more specifically. And in this part 2 today, we're going to talk about using the same tool, but for the reconciliation of credit cards. So let's talk a little bit about how we can leverage advanced bank reconciliation for reconciling credit card merchant gateways. So first, one of the definite advantage you have with our tool is the ability to create a user-defined import definition. And what that means is whichever file format your credit card merchant might be providing, whatever the layout of the data in that file might be, with our configurator tool, our import definition tool, we have the ability to map and import inside GP the information that you require based on your specific needs to be able to effectively reconcile your credit card merchant account. We can address large volume of transaction, which is really nice with you can easily auto match and reconcile however number of transaction you have, and you can do that based on one or multiple criteria. Typically, in the case of credit card merchant gateway and what we're going to demonstrate today, we find that a one-to-one match based both on amount and transaction ID seem to be a very effective way to accomplish that. Our auto post feature will also support the auto recording of your merchant fees and fund transfers. And again, that's going to be demonstrated in our product demonstration today. In addition to all that, what I think is really neat with our product is through the use of smart list views, we really allow you to get clear visibility into where payments are at. So if you're looking at cutoff situations between the time an order is recorded in GP and the time it is actually processed by your credit card merchant, with our tool, you're going to have very easy visibility into that list of in-transit payments. Ultimately, all of these features will help you kind of quickly identify and focus and spend your energy on investigating the discrepancies, leaving us with doing kind of the grunt work in the back end and not requiring any of your staff time to be able to do that. I'm going to go into my product demonstration here, and you're going to see, keep in mind that what we're trying to do with the credit card reconciliation processes, both for the merchant gateway as well as the corporate credit card, we're kind of looking at a bit of what I like to call a two-tiered reconciliation process. The idea behind that is that we want to reconcile the detail of your credit card merchant statement outside of reconciling your actual bank account and the receipt of money that you're going to get from the credit card merchant. So we want to go through that reconciliation first, making sure that everything that was recorded in GP has actually been processed as it should be by your credit card merchant. So with that first step, you're kind of reconciling your revenue, making sure that everything is recognized properly. And once you've reconciled that detail, you basically do an adjustment for simply the actual fund transfer or deposit amount into your bank account. So by the time you get to the second step of reconciling your bank account, that becomes a very effective and quick process because your detail is has been reconciled prior to actually reconciling the bank account. So we're going to demonstrate that right away. Let's go into our GP environment. So for those of you that were with us on Tuesday, this is what our reconciled bank transaction screen is. Actually, for those that might have missed that session. So our reconciled bank transaction screen essentially is divided in two sections, three, if we look at the header part. So we got a header section that will give us kind of the summary information about our reconciliation detail. And then in the bottom section, we're seeing on the left-hand side all the Dynamics GP transactions. In the case of credit card merchant gateway reconciliation, I'm looking at all my sales orders for the first day of the month here on June 1st. I've got some information. Basically, the scenario I'm kind of working on here is we have an external system to GP where we're recording all of our sales transaction. We're importing that into Dynamics GP, and because our tool reconciles directly to the GL as opposed to the native Bank Rec of NetSuite that requires cash transactions to be recorded, we have the ability to just effectively create those synergies and really importing the data right into the GL, which I can then extract on this screen for reconciliation purposes. I'm still posting information that will help me auto match these transactions, namely the document number here, which is what I was referring to earlier. That's going to be my common transaction ID denominator that I will be matching against the actual credit card statement. So we've got GP on the left-hand side. Let's bring in our credit card transaction on the right-hand side. So I'm simply going to go ahead and click on import. I already have an import definition for this, but we'll take the opportunity on this call to also just kind of show you the flexibility of our import tool. Here's our import format definition. Like I mentioned before, flexibility in determining which field in a file you want to import and associate to a field in ABR. So basically this is stating that looking at my credit card reconciliation file, which actually I have here. So here's an example of a credit card reconciliation file. It might look familiar to you. Could be a PayPal type format, Stripe, or any other credit card merchant you might be working with. Braintree is another one that comes to mind. So the nice thing about our import format definition, again, is you don't have to manipulate that file. So whichever way Braintree, PayPal, or Stripe might provide you file format and layout into, we have the ability to direct which specific column in here we actually want to import for our reconciliation purpose. So that's essentially what we're looking at here. So a bit of a mapping of the field to our CSV file in this case. All right, so let's go ahead. I was on the reconcile screen. I'm going to bring up my import. Sorry, I want to bring up my import processing. So let's go ahead and import that. Import complete. We're going to redisplay our window over here, and we're going to see all of our transactions that have been imported. I decided to, out of my file, import there's two data elements that were important to me aside from date and amount, obviously. My document number is what I'm going to attempt to match against the document number we're finding in GP. So that's going to be the essence of my matching rule. And I also brought in an additional reference. In this case, in my file, I've got a customer ID. So if I need to investigate anything, I'm going to have some kind of reference to help me look for the information I need. The transaction type is also a key element to our matching rule here. So because you can apply different matching rules to different transaction type. But in the case of credit card transaction, everything is pretty much a sale. We're going to have a couple refund to deal with and things like that in a moment. But let's just go ahead for the 75 transaction or so that we have in here. Let's just run our auto matching rule and see what happens. So I'm going to click on propose here. Very quickly, you can see, even if I kind of collapse that to 2 lines of information, sort that based on match ID. So the purpose of assigning a match ID here is to kind of create that audit trail in your transaction that helps you clearly when you go back in history, even if you look at this information, 2 months, 6 months down the road, and you look at this order in the system, you with the match ID, you can clearly identify which specific transaction on the credit card statement this was associated with. So to every single match we do, we assign a unique sequential ID to it for that purpose. I'm going to switch my view here so that I can see the transaction, that unique transaction ID on both sides. We can see that, proper match were made, not only based on amount, but also on document number, and kind of to prove that point as well, and also demonstrate our filtering capabilities that are very handy when you are dealing with a large subset, large volume of transaction. You might want to be able to create these, the subset of data to further analyze. So I'm going to do one here that will just help me demonstrate a few things. Let's just look. I happen to have multiple orders of a similar amount. So for all of our e-commerce friends out there, that is a very common scenario. So how do you make sure that things are reconciled appropriately and against the right record? So I've got a lot of transactions here for an amount of $19.99. And I'm going to do a similar filter on the other side. And now with the appropriate view on both sides, I can kind of confirm that for all my $19.99 orders, we can see that we have a direct correlation, not only based on amount, but also based on document number. And I was basically able to accomplish that because of the flexibility of our auto posting rules. So I'm going to look at the reconcile rule associated with this merchant account. So essentially anything that came through as a transaction type sale, I have asked ABR to make sure that not only the amount matched, but in our case, the date should be the same, and so should the transaction ID or the document number. So those were the criteria verified. If appropriate, you can continue adding additional criteria. Maybe there's some sort of reference or description that needs to also correspond, so you can leverage that criteria as well. So one or multiple, depending on your business and your reconciliation needs. So let's discard that. All right, so we're pretty happy with what's been matched. I'm actually gonna change my display here to only see matched transaction. Now I do have to remove that filter. So that we can see everything. So everything's been matched. I can do a cursory review, make sure I'm happy with all of that, assuming that we are. We also keep track. What's kind of handy with credit card reconciliation, I find, is we have kind of these total quantities and marked items that are identified at the bottom. So that's also kind of nice when you want to keep a tally on where you're at with your reconciliation. So far we got 64 records that have been reconciled out of 70 on the GL side, and same 64 out of 72 on the other side. So actually, let's take a look at the unmatched transaction now. So here's what's remaining. On the left-hand side would probably be your typical in-transit payments that I was referring to. So those would be sales orders that perhaps you've processed in your system and your e-commerce platform, but you haven't received, because I'm reconciling daily, which is just very important, usually pretty important with credit card reconciliation. You want to take a look at that daily. Now you have a clear view of what are those payments that are in transit and that you should fully expect to receive in the next day or so. So that helps you address kind of this cutoff situation, making sure you can keep track of everything. On the right-hand side, on the credit card statement side, I've got a little bit more. It looks like I do have a couple sales that were pushed through by my credit card processor. I'm going to need to investigate that. And then I've got some refunds here. So it looks like we have processed some refunds. Perhaps we haven't recorded that yet in GP. So we're going to take a look in a minute at how we can process these types of adjustment. But I want to talk a little bit about auto post first. So I've got on my credit card statement, also have a total fees that I need to record, and I have my credit card fund transfer to my bank account. So with our auto post feature, now I have the ability with what's remaining. It looks good. I got to take care of a couple things, investigate a few things, but at least fees and transfer in Mr. ABR just take care of that for me. So I can select all the remaining transaction and click on the little auto post icon over here, which basically will initiate a procedure that will look at all the remaining transaction. Any transaction that meets the criteria of my auto post rules will automatically get posted to my credit card receivable account in this case. So let's go ahead and do that. So here's the auto post confirmation. Sure enough, 2 journal entries were processed. We switch back to matched, and we go back and sort by match ID because I want to see the most recent matches. So here's our 2 journal entries for the payment and the fees that are matched to our transaction on the bank side. All right. Here's our transfer and our fees. So that was automatically taken care of by simply having these auto post rules. So back to my account setup here, auto post. So you can see how you can kind of create a bit of a mapping grid here that will take a look at a transaction type as well as a description for an association to a GL posting account so that we can take care of that journal entry for you. All right, so what else do we have unmatched here? So what's remaining now? Like I said, there's a couple sales transactions that I'm going to have to investigate with the sales team, but I've got some refunds here. So either this can sit here as outstanding bank records. We're going to reconcile perhaps the next day once the refund comes through our system. Depending on how the refund process works in your organization, perhaps it's something that the accounting team would record to a suspense type account until those are investigated further. That's kind of what I'm going to do here today, just for simplicity purposes. So I'm just going to assume that I need to process an adjustment so that I can demonstrate how right off the reconcile screen, we can also create GL adjustments. And we're going to go ahead and process those customer refunds. Like I said, in this case, to just a suspense account for our team to investigate and address. And let's go ahead and post that. And because I'm recording that adjustment, initiating it from the reconcile screen, then those transactions are automatically highlighted together with the transaction that gets extracted to the GL on the GL side now. So everything balances out if you look at the bottom. So the 161.03 against the 161.03, I can match that and complete. Now at this point, I've completed my reconciliation. I've got my payments in transit here. Happy with that. Got a couple sales items that we need to investigate. Hopefully I can match to a record tomorrow or in the next day or so once our sales team has taken care of what it is that our merchant was able to process, but we haven't recorded in GP yet. But as you can see, you can just very quickly and effectively see all of these transactions. I often get a comment also on the GP side, well, can you just extract this information quickly for me in Excel so I can share with the rest of the organization? So that allows me to just speak quickly about Smart List. We have a number of smart views that you can leverage so that you can do things like perhaps create a list of any unmatched credit card transaction that you need to send to Excel and have a member of your team investigate further. Or also for other reporting purposes, you might want to be able to have a quick visibility into a list of in-transit payments. So that can also be reported using very quickly and easily using Smart List. And then, as you know, very easily sent to Excel or printed or whatever you need to do with it at that point in time. Okay, so having said all this, I am balanced out. Basically, the two list of outstanding items fully explains the difference between our GL balance and our statement ending balance. So we're just going to go ahead at that point and reconcile. So all the matched items are going to be moved to a status of matched and sent to kind of history. And then we're going to be able to proceed with the next day reconciliation for our credit card merchant account. So here's reconcile error report, which has nothing on it, which is good. Here's our list of reconciled transactions. So these are all the actual transactions that were reconciled and sent to history. And then we got our typical sort of closing balance report that walks us through our credit card merchant ending balance, less the outstanding items, gives us our adjusted balance. Similarly on the GL side, for an unreconciled difference of 0. And then the second page on of the report will give us our list of outstanding credit card statement transaction that needs investigation, and then the in-transit payments. All right. So essentially, kind of just bringing this back on the screen without walking through all of the steps again. I'm hoping that I've been able to kind of demonstrate all the points that I was highlighting earlier, flexibility of our tool, the ability to take care and kind of really streamline everything that should be a no-brainer, allowing your team to just kind of focus and helps you identify and allows your team to really focus on just those discrepancies that should be investigated. So corporate credit card, I'm going to walk through that a little bit faster. So what are the sort of ABR features that can help us here? Once again, the import definition gives us the flexibility of importing the data the way we want based on the file format and layout that would be provided by your credit card provider or your bank. Our matching rules are going to be really handy again for the ability to match based on one or multiple matching criteria, just like we saw with the credit card merchant. We can facilitate auto posting of expenses, credit card payments, similarly to what we just saw. And ultimately here, what I'm looking for is what is that remaining list of items that perhaps will facilitate the recording of accrued expenses. So often we see people come to us saying, hey, help me reconcile that corporate credit card at the end of the month. And whatever, whatever the remaining list is something that at least I can accrue for so that I have appropriate reporting for my month-end statement while we investigate perhaps the employees that have not had an opportunity to claim their expenses yet. So let's walk through a similar process, but we're going to do that with our corporate credit card in this case. So because I'm reconciling a whole month, I'm going to change my date here at the top. Similarly, I've done a little bit of legwork. I've extracted already my credit card expenses. In our scenario, credit card expenses are imported from an external system again. So I've got an extensive expense reporting system that allows our employee to claim their expenses and go through the proper approval process. But ultimately, when that's complete, we just bring that into GP. So now what I want to do here is I want to make sure that everything that was reported by my credit card bank or supplier, credit card provider, that we've actually recorded and properly accounted for all of those expenses. So this is what came in from our expense reporting system. I'm going to import the rest of the transactions, or I should say my credit card statement, my corporate credit card statement. Let's go ahead and import that. Okay, redisplay. So here's everything. In my case, what is most relevant is for me to try to match based on amount and the credit card number of the credit card holder, because I've got kind of this consolidated credit card statement coming in. And the best way to make sure that we're matching proper items is to look at the credit card holder through the number and the amount. So that's kind of how the matching rules are designed here. So when we go ahead and propose, it's going to go through. Actually, luckily, everything that came in from the expense report system has been matched. We have some transactions remaining on the credit card statement side, similarly to what we demonstrated earlier. Some things like interest, credit card payment can be automated through an auto post. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to select all the remaining transaction. Anything in here that matches the criteria of an auto post rule, in this case, interest and payment, will automatically get posted. So let's go ahead and do that. We should have 2 journals on here, sure enough. And if we look at the match transaction, that's where we're going to find them as well. Interest payment now recorded very easily into GP. Now what's remaining is for you to investigate. It's either that someone hasn't recorded their expenses, it looks like. It's a common card. Now you got a lot of ways you can deal with this. Some people will say, well, I want to auto post these transactions. I want to perhaps create just a bulk entry as an accrued expenses that I will be able to match against the actual expenses once they are recorded in GP. So there's different ways of handling that piece at that point. But what is also really nice, especially if you're talking about a large volume of data, coming back to my smart list, I just love smart lists. Now you got an easy way of looking at your unreconciled items. And if we look on the bank side, corporate card expense accrual. So here's your backup for your credit card accrual entry to make sure that all your expenses are recorded in the appropriate month, and then you can kind of handle the internal piece of matching that to an actual expense report outside, but you know that your financial reporting is accurate. All right, so that's for the corporate credit card side of things. And once again, just kind of refreshing everybody's memory on what the advantage of our tool here for this purpose. So matching rules, posting rules, kind of a common recurring theme here. Just essentially helps you facilitate the matching of recorded expenses and also facilitate the recording of any accrued expenses you need to take into consideration for your financial reporting. Same spiel a little bit as Tuesday. Our advanced bank reconciliation module and its advanced functionality will really help your team save time and money when it comes time to doing these tedious and sometimes time-consuming reconciliation, especially in the area of credit cards. Sometimes you're talking about a large volume of data. You want a tool that will help you really streamline that process and take care of everything that doesn't necessarily require a human brain for. So we're talking about credit card merchant gateways, corporate credit cards. Our flexible auto matching rules will just help you take care of that based on what is most pertinent to your business. Auto post recurring type transactions, fees, deposits, credit card payments, we can take care of all that. Smart list views for proper reporting. And ultimately, our goal is to give you as accurate as possible of matching results so that your team can really just focus their time and energy on variances only. Want to highlight non-bank account applications. We've had clients that have been creative, and if you also used our tool for reconciling things like a purchasing account. So you got a large vendor that's sending you this massive purchasing statement. You want to reconcile, make sure everything has been recognized properly in the right bucket. So very nice tool for that purpose. Same with payroll accounts. You got an outside system, an outside payroll account. You want to make sure everything that was processed payroll was properly recorded in GP, and you want to do that against your ADP statement or anything like that. That's another great example of how our tool can be used. So any situation where you got kind of that external statement that you just want to verify against a GL account or multiple GL accounts for that matter, you can use our tool to do that. So I know that we're kind of at our 30 minutes. If any of you have to leave, thank you again for the opportunity to discuss our credit card reconciliation today. I will stay for a little bit. We're going to have a live Q&A that will also be recorded. So for those of you that have to leave, thanks for joining us, and you can always watch the recording to check out the questions. Or if you want to stay for a little longer, we're going to go through that together. So would Derek or Dylan share with me any questions that might have been asked by our audience?
Yeah, absolutely, Carol. Derek here. Happy to got a couple questions that have come in. The first one is around connectors for credit card merchant accounts or corporate credit cards, similar to what we have available for bank accounts.
Great question. Thanks for asking. Yes, forgot to mention that as we discussed on Tuesday, we have a new offering that we call labeled Nolan Cloud Services, and that is the tool gives us the ability to create SFTP or API connections to various financial institutions or credit card merchant gateways. Like I'm thinking of, again, PayPal, Stripe, Braintrees. We already have a few connectors created for those. So if it's something that's of interest to you, I invite you to reach out. We can elaborate a little bit more, but definitely have the ability to leverage a connector to automatically download the data that you want to reconcile with.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. And the second question was if we support matching of amounts based on specified tolerance levels. So yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah. Yeah, another great question. So yes, as much as I demonstrated today, kind of an exact match between an amount and a transaction ID, our tool that might come from someone that was there on Tuesday, I talked about tolerance level with our ABR tool. So absolutely, if tolerance level you want to leverage tolerance levels to be able to auto match amounts, not based on exact amount, but on a tolerance amount level or percentage, you can leverage that to auto post these differences so that somebody doesn't necessarily have to go through and do that. Actually, for credit card reconciliation, the application there too, tolerance percentage could be a great way to automatically process your merchant fees at the transaction level. So if your merchant fee, if it's a fixed fee of 1%, for instance, you might want to be able to reconcile the gross amount you recorded in the revenue against the amount you actually got, and that 1% difference, as long as it remains 1%, will automatically get posted for you at that transaction level. So that would be a great way to utilize the tolerance level.
Excellent. It looks like that might be all the questions we have for right now. So
perfect. Okay, thanks, Derek. So thanks everyone. Anyone that's still with us, I'm just going to highlight that we have one more session left next week, next Tuesday, and we're going to be in particular addressing electronic payments and our Nolan electronic payments for GP that can help the automation of vendor, not only vendor, but also employee payments. So if that's something that you would like to kind of move away from printing checks and things like that, we certainly have a solution there to help you electronically pay